Your biggest mistake was putting your hands on the wrong man's wife, the architect of your comfortable little world. I'm Damian Cross, and I work as a master electrician. My company handles electrical infrastructure design and installation for Fortune 500 companies, occasionally government facilities, basically anyone who needs their power systems locked down tight and code compliant. It pays extremely well, and I'm genuinely good at it. But here's the thing about electrical work. The moment people know what you do, they either want free troubleshooting for their ceiling fan, or they get nervous about you touching their breaker box. So, I learned early on to just tell people I fix electrical stuff around the house, which I actually do. It's therapeutic. I enjoy working with my hands, and it's a hell of a lot easier than explaining three-phase power distribution at cocktail parties. My wife, Sophia, works for MedTech Solutions, this massive pharmaceutical company that charges hospitals 6 figures for medications they desperately need. She's legitimately brilliant at what she does, always has been since we met in college. Every year, MedTech throws this enormous corporate gala at the Riverside Country Club. We're talking marble floors, crystal chandeliers, appetizers that cost more per bite than a regular meal, and a live jazz band that actually knows how to play their instruments. The kind of event where everyone's smile is rehearsed, and their handshake comes with a mental calculation of your quarterly earnings. Sophia had been stressing about this gala for weeks. Her regional director, Vincent Crawford, ran the sales territory like a general commanding troops, and not the inspiring kind. More like the kind who sends other people's kids to die while he counts medals from a safe distance. The guy was legendary at MedTech, and not in a good way. More like the kind of legend involving expense reports that would make auditors weep and junior sales reps who requested transfers after working under him for a few months. He wore suits that probably cost more than our monthly mortgage and used enough cologne to fumigate a small warehouse. The night of the gala, Sophia looked absolutely stunning in this midnight blue dress, while I threw on a charcoal suit I'd owned since 2018. We showed up and immediately the atmosphere was thick with corporate networking. Everyone was schmoozing like their quarterly bonuses depended on it, which for most of them, it probably did. There was Jeremy from compliance who wouldn't shut up about his fishing boat that he'd used maybe twice. Sandra from regulatory affairs laughing too loud at her own stories. And Todd, who tried explaining FDA approval processes to anyone who made eye contact for longer than 3 seconds. I was doing my usual thing at these events, standing around with a bourbon being Sophia's +1, nodding politely while people discussed market penetration like they were mapping the human genome. Most of her colleagues knew me as the electrician husband, the guy who fixed house wiring and showed up to smile at parties, which was completely fine by me. Let them think I spent my days at electrical supply shops arguing about wire gauge. It kept things simple. About 2 hours into the gala, the live band started playing something slow and romantic. Couples began drifting toward the dance floor on the outdoor terrace. Sophia and I were standing near the bar when Vincent Crawford made his entrance onto the scene. He'd been working the room like a politician all evening, but now his attention laser-focused on our little corner. The man commanded attention, not because he was charismatic, but because he controlled territory budgets and commission structures. He was clearly drunk when he approached us, swaying slightly with that overconfident smile people get when they've had 4 drinks too many and think they're James Bond. His eyes swept over Sophia in a way that made my jaw clench, then landed on me like I was an interesting stain on an otherwise pristine marble floor. "Sophia," he said, extending his hand toward her. "There's my star performer. Care to dance with your favorite regional director?" The way he said it made it sound less like a request and more like a command wrapped in politeness. I felt Sophia's hand squeeze my arm in warning, but she was caught in that impossible corporate position where saying no could cost her professionally. She forced a smile and took his hand. "Of course, Vincent. One dance." I watched them walk onto the terrace and everything started normal enough. Standard ballroom positioning, appropriate distance. But then Vincent started getting comfortable. His hand dropped lower on her back. He pulled her closer. He was whispering something in her ear that was making her obviously uncomfortable. That's when I decided to cut in. I walked onto the dance floor and tapped Vincent's shoulder. "Mind if I take my wife back?" I said it politely with a smile, the way you're supposed to at corporate functions. Vincent turned to face me, and something ugly flickered across his features. "Actually, I do mind," he said, loud enough that other couples nearby started paying attention. We're having an important conversation about business strategy, something you wouldn't understand. Business strategy, I repeated, on the dance floor at 10 o'clock at night while you're groping my wife. The music kept playing, but I could feel the energy shift around us. People were starting to stare. Groping? Vincent laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's dancing, friend. Maybe if you knew how to move to music that wasn't played on a car radio, you'd understand the difference. About 25 people nearby had stopped dancing entirely. The photographer the company hired was suddenly very interested in our corner of the terrace. Vincent seemed to feed off the attention. Here's the thing, Damien, he continued still, holding Sophia's hand like she was his property. Your wife is talented, really talented. She's going places in this company, big places, the kind of places that require flexibility, adaptability, the ability to work closely with leadership. He paused, making sure his audience was listening, which they absolutely were. The band might as well have stopped playing. So, what I'm saying is, she's got potential that extends far beyond 9 to 5 office hours. Weekend conferences, late-night strategy sessions. You understand how the corporate world works, right? The silence that followed was deafening. Someone actually gasped. Jennifer from accounting looked like she'd witnessed a car accident. Even Todd stopped mid-FDA explanation to stare. Sophia's face cycled through embarrassment to anger faster than a traffic light. I could feel her mortification radiating off her in waves. But Vincent wasn't finished. In what can only be described as spectacularly poor judgment fueled by expensive whiskey, and an ego that should have its own zip code, he actually pushed me. Not hard, but enough to send a clear message in front of 25 witnesses. Know your place, tradesman, he said with a smirk. Some conversations are above your pay grade. I steadied myself, looked around at all the faces staring at us, and smiled. You sure about that, Vincent? I said conversationally. Because that's the kind of behavior HR usually uses as training material, you know, in those what not to do videos they show during orientation. Before he could respond, Sophia grabbed my arm with a grip that could bend rebar and practically dragged me off the dance floor. She was smiling at colleagues as we passed, but her voice was pure fury when we got to a quiet corner of the club. What the hell was that, Damien? You embarrassed him in front of the entire sales team, half the executives, everyone. Do you have any idea what you've just done? I believe experts call it standing up to a bully, I said, trying to keep my tone light. Though, I'm open to other interpretations. He was drunk, she protested, though even she didn't sound convinced. He gets handsy when he drinks. Everyone knows that. You don't make scenes, not at company events. So, this is normal for him? I asked. Does he always treat female employees like they're part of his compensation package? She struggled to find words that would make Vincent's behavior acceptable. He can be inappropriate, demanding, but he's never... she trailed off. Damien, this is my job. This is my career. I've worked so hard to get where I am. And Vincent, like him or not, he has influence. Real influence. He can make or break people at this company, and you just humiliated him in front of everyone. Good, I said flatly. He deserved it. That's not how this works. You don't just embarrass your wife's regional director because he said something stupid while drunk. You smile, you nod, you let it go, and then we talk about it at home like adults. He pushed me, Sophia, in front of 25 people. That's not a let it go situation. That's an call security situation. She took a deep breath, shifting into damage control mode. I need to go back in there. I need to smooth this over, apologize on your behalf. Don't apologize for me. I'm not sorry that I stood up to a guy who treats you like property. I'm not sorry I called him out, and I'm definitely not sorry I embarrassed him. Maybe he needed to be embarrassed. We stood there staring at each other, the sound of the party continuing inside. She was weighing her career against her dignity, calculating the cost of standing by me versus standing by her boss. Finally, she shook her head. I can't believe you sometimes. This is my livelihood, our livelihood, the mortgage, the car payments, everything. I need to go back in there and fix this. You just stay out here for a bit. Cool off. Don't talk to anyone, especially not Vincent. I watched her walk back inside and stayed in that corner for a while, watching other couples dance on the terrace. Here's what Sophia didn't know. What Vincent definitely didn't know. What maybe 3 people in MedTech's facilities department knew. MedTech Solutions' entire electrical infrastructure for their new headquarters was built on systems I personally designed 8 months ago. My contracting firm had done everything from soup to nuts, and we still maintained it under a very quiet, very lucrative service contract that came up for renewal every 2 years. Vincent's entire kingdom, all his sales presentations, all his precious client data, was running on electrical systems I built, protected by emergency backup power I designed, supported by uninterruptible power supplies I specified and installed. The tradesman he just pushed around could theoretically bring his entire operation to its knees with a few circuit breaker adjustments. Not that I would, obviously. I'm not a psychopath, and it would be incredibly illegal. But the point was, Vincent had just picked a fight with the one person at that party who actually had leverage over him, even if he was too drunk and arrogant to realize it. I finished my bourbon and headed back inside. Sophia was across the room doing damage control with what looked like Vincent's assistant and a couple of senior VPs. She looked stressed, but composed. I got another drink from the bartender, who gave me a look that was either respect or concern, hard to tell. 3 days later, I was in my home office reviewing a proposal for a hospital in Cleveland when I got a text from my business partner, Lucas Sterling. The message read, "MedTech having electrical issues." Facilities manager called, asking about emergency service rates. LOL. I checked my email and found a frantic message chain forwarded from MedTech's facilities director. One of those classic corporate panic spirals where everyone's replying all and nobody's actually solving anything. The subject line was about critical electrical system failures affecting the entire sales department's floor. I snorted coffee through my nose. I logged into MedTech's building management system using my contractor credentials and immediately saw the problem. Their facilities team had ignored approximately 12 automated warnings about a scheduled maintenance window for the main distribution panel serving Vincent's floor. 12 warnings. The system had been trying to tell them for weeks that they needed to coordinate a brief power shutdown for essential maintenance. Without it, the electrical load balancing could develop issues if too many high-draw devices operated simultaneously, which is exactly what happened when the entire sales team fired up their presentation equipment for Monday morning client calls. I could fix it in about 30 minutes. The question was whether I should. My phone rang. It was Sophia. "The power's out at work. Everything's down. The entire sales floor is dark. We have client presentations this afternoon that we can't access. And Vincent is losing his mind. He's yelling at facilities. Facilities is yelling at IT, and nobody knows what's happening. I just needed to hear your voice. This day is already a disaster." Guilt is a funny thing. It can make you do stupid, selfless things, even when the vindictive part of your brain is screaming to let karma run its course. I looked at my computer screen, at the simple maintenance procedure that would take less time than brewing coffee, and sighed. "It's probably just a scheduled maintenance issue," I said carefully. "These things usually resolve themselves once the technical team figures out the proper sequence." I hung up and stared at my screen for another 60 seconds, having an internal debate about marriage, loyalty, and whether being the bigger person was worth it when the smaller person was such a colossal jackass. Then I fixed it. 35 minutes later, MedTech's electrical systems were humming along like nothing had happened. I had completed the deferred maintenance, rebalanced the load distribution, and even upgraded a few components because I'm a professional and I take pride in my work, even when the client's management is populated by jackasses. About 2 hours later, Lucas forwarded me another email. This one was from Vincent himself, sent to the entire company with that self-congratulatory tone managers use when they want credit for things they had nothing to do with. "Team, thanks to my direct intervention and quick thinking, we've resolved this morning's power crisis. I work closely with our facilities department to identify and coordinate the solution. This is why strong leadership matters in crisis situations. Back to business as usual." Vincent? I actually laughed out loud. The man had gone from screaming at facilities to taking full credit for a fix he didn't even know had happened. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Dude, did you see this? You gonna say something?" "Nope, playing the long game now." See, here's what Vincent didn't know. Every action on their building management system was logged, time-stamped, and attributed to specific contractor accounts. my contractor account specifically. But more importantly, Vincent's little heroic narrative had caught the attention of someone who mattered. By Thursday afternoon, Sophia called again with different energy entirely. "You're not going to believe this. The board decided to do a full facilities audit, something about wanting to understand our building operations after this week's outage. Vincent's been bragging about his technical knowledge, and apparently someone on the board actually knows about electrical systems and wants to verify our infrastructure is up to standard." She laughed, and there was genuine amusement in it. He's been in meetings all day trying to explain exactly how he fixed the electrical problem. It's kind of satisfying, actually. Audits are thorough. They look at contracts, vendor relationships, service logs, everything. And when MedTech's board brought in auditors to examine the company's facilities management, they were going to find something very interesting in the confidential contractor files. A service agreement with Cross & Sterling Electrical Solutions, with me listed as senior contractor and primary systems designer. By the following Monday, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with texts from Sophia. "Okay, so something weird is happening. Call me when you can." I was at the electrical supply warehouse, actually doing electrician stuff because irony is alive and well, when she called. "Damien, what did you do?" "I'm trying to decide between 12 gauge and 14 gauge wire for a residential job." "Why? What's up?" "Damien, I'm serious. What did you do? Everyone's talking. The audit report came back, and apparently your name is all over it. People are saying you're not just some house electrician, that you're some kind of electrical contractor, that you built our entire headquarters infrastructure. Is this true?" The cat was out of the bag. "Yeah. About 8 months ago, my company got the contract. It's good work, solid pay, interesting challenges. I didn't mention it because, honestly, it never really came up. You were excited about your job. I was doing my thing. Seemed easier to keep work separate." "Easier," she repeated the word slowly. "Damien, do you have any idea what's happening here right now? Vincent found out this morning during the executive briefing. Apparently, the CFO mentioned that we should thank Cross & Sterling for saving us potentially hundreds of thousands in infrastructure replacement costs last quarter." I grinned. "Oh yeah? How'd Vincent take that news?" He turned white, like vampire white, like he'd seen his own ghost. Then he just sat there for the rest of the meeting, looking like someone had told him his MBA was printed on toilet paper and also he owed the university back tuition. "That's unfortunate," I said, not meaning it even a little bit. "Damien, this is serious. Everyone knows now. They know you're not just some electrician husband. They know you're important, like actually important to the company, more important than half the people at that gala." Over the next few days, Sophia kept me updated. Vincent had tried rallying support from other department heads, painting himself as the victim of some elaborate deception. It didn't work. Turned out when you build a reputation on being inappropriate, condescending, and unprofessional, people aren't eager to defend you when consequences finally arrive. The executives who discovered I existed suddenly found me very interesting. Sophia forwarded me emails, invitations to networking dinners, requests for coffee meetings, people wanting to discuss expansion opportunities. I politely declined most of them. I didn't want to be MedTech's new golden boy. I'd built their electrical systems. I maintained them. That was the extent of my interest in their corporate drama. 2 weeks later, I got an email that made me laugh so hard I nearly dropped my multimeter. The subject line read, "Professional consultation request, confidential, from Patricia Hoffman, MedTech's head of HR." They were conducting a formal review of workplace conduct issues stemming from the annual gala, and would I be willing to participate as a third-party professional consultant to provide context about the incident. Third-party consultant. What they really meant was, we need you to tell us what happened so we can figure out if we need to fire your wife's regional director without getting sued. I called Sophia immediately. "Did you know about this?" "About what?" "HR wants me to come in for a meeting about the gala. They want my professional perspective on what happened." There was a pause. "They do? Oh my God, Damien. Do you know what this means? They're actually taking this seriously. They're building a case. He might actually face real consequences." The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I put on my good suit and drove to MedTech's downtown offices. The building was one of those modern glass structures designed to intimidate people into thinking the company was more important than it actually was. Patricia Hoffman met me in the reception area, mid-40s, with the kind of efficient professionalism that suggested she'd seen every variety of workplace nonsense and had developed immunity to corporate bullshit. She led me to a conference room where 3 other people waited: a guy from legal, a woman with a laptop taking notes, and Jennifer, Vincent's assistant, who looked like she'd rather be getting a root canal. "We appreciate your willingness to participate in this review," Patricia began. "This is a confidential proceeding regarding an incident at the company's annual gala 6 weeks ago." I walked them through everything: Vincent's approach, his inappropriate behavior with Sophia, the escalation, his territorial speech about after-hours business strategy, and the push. I kept it factual and professional. "Were there witnesses?" Patricia asked. "About 25 of them, give or take. The dance floor was pretty crowded." Patricia made a note. "We've spoken with several attendees. Their accounts align with yours." She glanced at legal guy, who gave a slight nod. "Mr. Cross, I'm going to show you something." She pulled out a tablet and turned it toward me. Someone had recorded video of the whole thing. There was Vincent, swaying slightly, delivering his territorial speech with misplaced confidence. The audio was crystal clear. She's got potential that extends far beyond 9 to 5, weekend conferences, late-night strategy sessions. Then the push, looking even worse on video than I remembered. Dismissive, aggressive. My response was there too. "You sure about that, Vincent? Because that's the kind of behavior HR usually uses as training material." "Yes," I said, sliding the tablet back. "That's what happened." "And how did this incident make you feel?" "Disrespected. He pushed me. That's not normal behavior. That's not professional behavior. If someone did that to him, he'd probably sue them and write a LinkedIn post about workplace toxicity." The meeting continued for 45 minutes. They asked about my relationship with Sophia, my work history with MedTech, other interactions with Vincent. I answered everything honestly, with minimal sarcasm. As we wrapped up, Patricia looked at me with something like respect. "Mr. Cross, on behalf of MedTech Solutions, I want to apologize for what you experienced. That behavior doesn't reflect our values or standards." "I appreciate that," I said. "Though maybe save that apology for your female employees who have to work with him every day." "We're addressing that," she said, and something in her tone told me Vincent's days were numbered. 3 days later, Vincent Crawford was suspended pending investigation. 2 weeks after that, he resigned to pursue other opportunities. Corporate code for, "We were going to fire you, but we're letting you quit first so you can tell people you weren't fired." I got a gift basket from MedTech's executive team with expensive coffee, chocolate, and a polite note thanking me for my professionalism. There was also a settlement offer attached, asking me to sign an NDA in exchange for a payment that would have covered my truck payments for a year. I declined the NDA but kept the chocolate. 3 months after Vincent's exit, Sophia came home one evening with news that made my day. They offered me Vincent's position, regional director, his old territory. Patricia said I got it. I actually got it. I picked her up and spun her around right there in the kitchen. "That's my girl. I told you that you were too good for that place. Turns out I was wrong. You're exactly perfect for that place now that they've removed the human obstacle." The promotion came with a better salary, actual authority, her own company car, and most importantly, respect. She threw herself into the role with incredible energy. Within a month, she'd restructured her team, implemented new processes that didn't rely on intimidation or inappropriate behavior, and transformed the sales territory into a place people wanted to work. Revenue went up, morale went up, turnover went down. The next annual gala rolled around in March. Same venue, same overpriced everything, but the energy was completely different. People approached me differently this time. No more condescending shoulder pats about fixing electrical stuff around the house. They wanted to talk to me like I was a real person, like I mattered. Marcus from compliance cornered me within 15 minutes. "Damien, man, I've been meaning to ask. I've got this electrical panel at my house that keeps tripping breakers. Is there a way to figure out what's causing it? You're asking me for free technical consultation at a party?" "I mean, yeah." "Marcus, buddy, I charge $200 an hour for service calls." His face fell. "I'm kidding. You probably have an overloaded circuit. Count how many devices you're running on the same breaker and redistribute the load." "You're a lifesaver, man." A woman from the marketing team asked if I took residential contracts. Several people asked about smart home electrical systems, commercial backup power, various technical questions. Even Todd tried engaging me about building codes, but I redirected him to someone who actually cared about his stories. At one point, a junior facilities manager named Travis approached nervously. "Mr. Cross, I just wanted to say the electrical system you designed for us is really elegant. I've been studying the schematics as part of my training, and the way you structured the emergency backup integration is chef's kiss." "Thanks, man. That means a lot coming from someone who actually looks at the blueprints." "Are you kidding? You're like a legend in our department. The senior guys always talk about how you delivered that project ahead of schedule and under budget." After he left, Sophia leaned in. "You have fans, actual fans. How does that feel?" "Weird. Also kinda cool, but mostly weird." Later in the evening, a small group gathered around me. Facilities people and sales folks asking about load calculations, electrical safety, whether I really did residential work, or if that was just a cover story. "Rule 1, I said, warming to the audience. "Never underestimate a man with a multimeter. Rule 2, never underestimate a man who knows where your circuit breakers are located. Master both, and you're basically untouchable." People actually laughed, real laughs. "Rule 3, I continued. If someone pushes you at a company party, make sure there's video evidence. Really helps with the HR proceedings." The laughter got louder. Everyone knew what I was referring to. The Vincent incident had become office legend. The real kicker came almost exactly 1 year after the original gala. I was at an electrical contractors conference in Chicago, speaking on a panel about commercial infrastructure design. Walking through the exhibition hall afterward, I spotted Vincent at a vendor booth. He was wearing a cheap polo shirt with some startup's logo, doing demos for uninterested attendees. The guy who'd once strutted around medtech like royalty was now working a conference booth, probably making a fraction of his old salary. I could have walked away, taken the high road, but I'm petty enough to appreciate cosmic justice up close. I walked over to his booth, hands in my pockets, casual. He didn't recognize me at first. Then recognition hit, and his face cycled through 17 emotions in 3 seconds. Surprise, confusion, fear, embarrassment. "Damien," he said, voice cracking slightly. "Wow, hi, I didn't expect to see you here." "Funny, I work in electrical systems. This is an electrical contractors conference. Where else would I be?" "Right, of course." He was sweating now. "You were on that panel earlier, weren't you?" "I was. You catch any of it?" "No, we've been pretty busy here at the booth." He gestured at the empty space around him. The booth next to his had at least 15 people. His had me and nobody else. "Looks like it," I said, not hiding the sarcasm. Awkward silence settled between us. He fidgeted with a stylus, clicking it repeatedly. The polo shirt looked cheap. His hair was different too, less aggressively styled. "So," he said finally, "you're doing well, I see. Big panel. Probably consulting for major companies. Good for you." "Yeah, it's going well. Sophia's doing great too, in case you were wondering. Regional director now. Your old job, actually." "Well, I say your old job, but really, she's made it into something completely different. Better. People actually like working there now. Productivity's up. Morale's up. Funny how that works when you treat employees like human beings instead of property." The color drained from his face. "Look, Damien, about that night..." "The night you pushed me," I interrupted, keeping my voice conversational. "The night you told me I had to wait for my turn with my own wife. That night. I was drunk. I made a mistake. I've learned from it. You made excuses. You tried to blame Sophia for not warning you about who I was. You never actually took responsibility, Vincent. You just got caught and had to face consequences for the first time in your probably very privileged life." He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in my expression stopped him. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I'm just enjoying the view. The universe has a way of sorting things out. You thought you were untouchable at MedTech, thought you could treat people however you wanted because you had power and influence and a fancy title. And now, here you are, working a booth at a conference, probably making a fraction of what you used to make." I started to walk away, then paused and turned back. "Oh, and Vincent, just so we're clear on the final score here, Sophia's running your old territory and killing it. I'm speaking on panels and consulting for companies that actually value expertise over ego. And I gestured at the booth, at the cheap polo shirt, at the empty space around him. Well, you're here. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe has a way of making sure the right people win in the end.